Welcome. Today we're going to be diving into how you can overcome your fear and embrace vulnerability while working to inspire others to step outside of their own comfort zones. Because let's face it, this is a challenge that faces every aspiring leader, every change maker, every giver. And that's this idea of fear, that fear of stepping into something bigger than what we are, and the vulnerability required to truly inspire others as a part of that. It holds us back. It keeps us in our comfort zones, whispering to us to be in our safe space. But what if we could overcome that fear and embrace vulnerability, not only to grow ourselves, but to inspire others to take on their own courageous steps and to step into who it is that they were meant to be? Maybe you felt it before, that hesitation, before trying something new, that doubt that just creeps in and, is speaking, like before you speak anything too, it's like it's your truth, or it has you worrying about how others might perceive you and what you're about to say. Maybe you've discovered that your gifts and superpowers, that you developed or learned through things like the giver method, and you want to make a real difference beyond just your immediate circle. But now you're faced, as you feel called to expand your influence, you start to feel that fear, and it starts to feel scary to you as a part of that. Like, what if I told you that the very fear that's holding you back could become one of your greatest tools for inspiring others? So stick around, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to share 6 really practical steps and principles that are going to help you to overcome fear and embrace that vulnerability and inspire others to step outside of their own comfort zones. Now, these are the strategies I would give you if we were working together one-on-one, if you were here in my office and I was coaching you, to help you to be ready to move from being a giver into becoming more of an impact maker. Now, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of the book, The Giver Method, which you keep hearing me use that term giver. I'll include a link in the description where you can get this on Amazon. It's an Amazon bestseller. It's on Barnes & Noble, all those places. But as people are on their path to becoming givers and, influencing and transforming lives through generosity and utilizing their gifts and superpowers, they then determine that they're on that path to become an impact maker where they can make the greater change. And I want to show you how you can transform this fear that you have from a barrier into that bridge that connects you more deeply with those who you're meant to serve, so that you can get on that path to becoming an impact maker. It's totally natural to feel fear, but it's what we do with that fear that actually defines our growth. And vulnerability often seems to other people like a weakness, but it's one of the most powerful tools for connection and leadership. Together, they hold this key to unlocking your full potential and helping others to do the same. So today we're going to explore what these principles are of overcoming your fear and embracing that vulnerability. And they're drawn from the wisdom within the Giver Method book. Like I said, I'll include a link in the description to where you can go get access to it. I'm going to share these actionable steps, some examples, practical exercises that you can use that are not only going to help you to confront your fear, but use it to bridge that greater connection for authenticity and impact. Now, before we dive in, if you're new here, please go ahead and hit subscribe on the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. Don't want you to miss out on any of the content we have around unleashing your gifts and superpowers and making more meaningful impact. The action items we're going to give you, I highly recommend you grab a piece of paper, you open up a note, jot down your thoughts as we go. That way, you can go ahead and start putting those into motion immediately and start seeing that sort of change and impact. Now, you can also, whatever point, like I said, go down in the description. You can get access to the book, or you can find us on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'll have the links to all those places, as well as thegivermethod.com, where you can get on our newsletter list or join our Impact Makers community. So with that, let's just dive into these principles, overcome fear, embrace vulnerability, all of those things. So the first one is that you have to acknowledge and reframe your fear. Fear is it's such an intrinsic part of who we are as human beings. This is a signal designed to alert us to any sort of danger. And in modern life, fear often arises not from those physical threats, but from perceived risks of things like failure or rejection or stepping into the unknown. Acknowledging fear without judgment is like one of the foundational steps to overcoming it. By recognizing that fear's presence, you start to create the space where you understand, its roots and, the impact it's having on you, rather than letting it dictate your decisions. Fear, when it's reframed, it actually can transform from that barrier into a guide where it highlights the areas where it's ripe for growth and self-discovery. This sort of a perception shift, it requires some sort of a commitment that you're going to make to yourself, to a self-awareness and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable emotions that could come with it. Reframing your fear is about changing the narrative that you have around it. Instead of viewing it as an obstacle, you're considering it a signpost pointing you towards those opportunities on your path towards transformation. You can ask yourself, what is this fear trying to teach me? How can I face it and do so that's going to help me to grow? Often fears are linked with past experiences or assumptions that no longer serve your present self or your future. And as you reframe, this sort of a thing, it helps you to see fear as a challenge worth embracing and taking on, shifting the energy from an avoidance to curiosity and action. And that helps to rewire and reframe your brain and how you look at it. And so to incorporate this, like, create those intentional moments for self-reflection where you begin by identifying what are specific fears and what were their triggers, and you write them down and consider their origins. Like, where was that? Where did these fears shape, maybe by the past or societal expectations or self-doubt? Once identified, start practicing that process of reframing them into opportunities. You can visualize it as, using visualization as a powerful tool to imagine yourself confidently navigating the fear, that fear or the feared situation, and focusing on more positive outcome. You could journal your thoughts about that with actions that you could do to track, how you're progressing with it. And each day, look for the ways that you can document maybe a fear that you encountered. Where was its origin and how did you reframe it? And then, pair that up with affirmations like, I'm brave enough to face that challenge. I'm good enough to grow through this. I'm going to make it out the other side. The things that help to just change how we perceive it. And over time, you can revisit your journal and notice any patterns of what you're seeing, and then celebrate the moments where you move past that fear. Implementing this sort of idea it's really important because acknowledging fear removes the grip that it has on your decisions. When fear is acknowledged, it really does fester and grow and creates this barrier for personal and professional growth. And when you reframe fear, you empower yourself to face it with curiosity and resilience. Like, it really just starts to create a mindset where, challenges are no longer daunting, but those opportunities for expansion. It shifts not only, benefits for your own personal journey along the way, but also serves as that calling, beacon for encouragement to others, because your courage to confront fear and share your process, it inspires those around you to believe that they can overcome those sort of fears as well. In this sort of way, you also start that ripple effect to change your community and beyond based off of that. Now, the second one is that you need to lean into vulnerability, because vulnerability is far from being a weakness. It is one of the most powerful expressions of courage and authenticity that you can put out there. It's that act of stepping into situations where the outcome is uncertain, exposing parts of ourselves that we might normally keep hidden. When you lean into any sort of a vulnerability, you create that environment that creates the trust and genuine connection. It allows you to strip away any sort of facade that we have of perfection and embrace the truth of, how we have a shared humanity together. And by showing up vulnerably, you invite others to do the same. You build bridges that lead to deeper and more meaningful relationships. Embracing that vulnerability, it helps dismantle fear and shame. And these are two barriers that just often keep us from reaching our full potential. When you openly admit your struggles, you share your feelings, you acknowledge your mistakes, you demonstrate that you've got imperfections, it's not only acceptable, but it's valuable to others. And vulnerability shines a light on the strengths it takes to face our challenges and reveals beauty in authenticity. It's through these acts of courage that you inspire others to confront their own fears and step into their unknown. So lean into that vulnerability by, begin with small and intentional actions. Identify those moments in life where, fear or uncertainty kept you from sharing your true self, and then reflect on how maybe you could revisit that sort of a situation with honesty and courage. And start by, looking, maybe you go to a trusted friend or a colleague, about a time that you faced that personal professional challenge, and then share the emotions you experienced. Like, what did you learn? How did that experience maybe shape you, and how things show up for you as you think about them now? Share, these sort of conversations provide safe foundation for practicing vulnerability and observing the impact that comes with it. Another way you can practice it is through your daily interactions, embracing that vulnerability in your daily actions. So that means admitting that when you don't know the answer, asking for help when you need it, being willing to be a receiver, sharing your own personal story during maybe a team meeting or a gathering. Like, as you grow more comfortable with these sort of moments, you extend your vulnerability to larger settings, such as giving a talk or leading a group discussion, where you can openly share lessons learned from your own missteps and fears. And so you could take action this week, commit to having one vulnerable conversation, that you want to get out there. Write down what observations you see from it as other people respond to how you do that. dedicating a few minutes each and every evening where you can document those moments where you show vulnerability or witness others could help as well. And it helps you to reflect on what you've learned from that. This sort of idea, it helps to reinforce that positive outcome of leaning into vulnerability and building confidence as you continue to do it. As you lean into any sort of a vulnerability, like you start to transform relationships and, really create deeper trust and authenticity, with those who you're interacting with. When you allow yourself to be seen as you are, you create that space for others to do the same. And once again, that openness builds that culture for connection and support, both personally and professionally. Vulnerability teaches us resilience. When you step into discomfort of, maybe being fully seen, you grow stronger in facing any of life's uncertainties. And more importantly, it does inspire those around you to embrace their own courage and create that ripple effect of authenticity and growth. Vulnerability, you unlock the ability to connect deeply with others, to lead more meaningfully with them and inspire them to take risks and live authentically themselves. Now, our third one is that you have to start taking incremental risks. This is the practical and empowering way to overcome fears by truly building your confidence over time. Growth doesn't require any sort of dramatic leap. It, begins with that small, consistent step that gradually expands your comfort zone beyond where it is now. And these small sort of actions that you can do, they create that sense of progress without overwhelming you. They allow fear to, just be dismantled naturally as you go. And as your confidence grows, incremental risks are especially effective, because they provide that clear path forward, transforming what could feel like insurmountable tasks into that series of more manageable things that you could go do. With each step, you not only gain experience, but you also prove to yourself that you're capable of handling much more than you had imagined originally. This is all about creating meaningful momentum through your actions. And when you take those small risks, you challenge the narratives of fear that you have. And, the things like I'm not capable of, or I'm going to fail. Every small victory becomes that tangible reminder of your ability to navigate through your challenges and to create, more resilience and self-belief in what it is that you're trying to do. This sort of a process, it's designed to take you in, take those incremental risks and build familiarity with uncertainty. How you bridge that gap, often that unfamiliarity, uncertainty that you could have, that's going to be one of the root causes of that fear that's lingering there. And by gradually exposing yourself to situations that push those boundaries to, beyond where you are, you become more comfortable with the discomfort and fear loses its grip that it has with you. And so this all comes down to how you apply those incremental risks in your life by identifying an area where fear might be holding you back, and then reflect on how it feels, what feels overwhelming, and then think about how you could break that thing into those smaller tasks, the more actionable steps. Create lists of what those smaller actions are, each building on the last one until you form that ladder of growth that leads you towards that larger goal. Keep focus on the progress, not the perfection of it in any way, because if you do, that will hold you back. So when you integrate those incremental risks into your routine, it's the most effective when it's just done and you do it just intentionally each day as a part of what you're doing. Choose one area to focus on during the week and then dedicate specific times to take action, and then document those experiences that you have after each step, noting how it felt, what you learned, celebrating the wins along the way. When you review your progress regularly, you identify patterns of growth and you can adjust and maintain your forward momentum. Visualization, we talked about earlier, is another great tool that helps you with this sort of a practice. You can imagine yourself succeeding at each step before you take the action, and then use that to help reduce any sort of anxiety and build confidence as you go. Always record your experiences, gain feedback. As you gain feedback, make sure you record what that is so that you can look for those areas of opportunity and celebrate any sort of courage that you've done to take a step forward. Reviewing these sort of regularly tracked items reinforces your progress, and it highlights how small steps will accumulate into way more meaningful challenges. And then, of course, share that with someone, a family member, a trusted mentor, a peer, for added accountability. Those risks, it's so important to take these incremental risks because it aligns that growth with more of a sustainable approach. It acknowledges that your fear is just a natural part of the process and provides you a framework for navigating it in meaningful and manageable ways. It's about, how you model an approach, how you model to be approachable path for others and demonstrate that courage for creating their steady effort rather than these dramatic transformations that happened overnight that don't happen to anybody. As you build confidence step by step, you're going to inspire others to go and face their own fear, showing them the significant growth, between where it begins and even the smallest actions that happen. These incremental risks, matter because they create that roadmap, of resilience and adaptability. And by starting small, you reduce the chances of becoming overwhelmed, which often leads to inaction. Each risk that reinforces that belief in that fear doesn't have to dictate what your choices are. Like, the shift in your mindset opens doors for opportunities and just really empowers you, enables you to step into challenges with greater ease. And over time, that just has a compound effect, transforming your approach of, no longer being towards fear, but allowing you to unlock your full potential and hopefully inspiring those around you while you do so. Now, the fourth thing is you build support networks. That's just a natural foundational principle for navigating fear and embracing vulnerability, because when you surround yourself with individuals who encourage and challenge you, that fear becomes less daunting. Supporting members of a network like this provides you that safe space to share your doubts, to seek advice, to celebrate milestones. Like, these sort of connections remind you that you're not alone in your journey, and that reinforcing that confidence and resilience. They give you different perspectives to look at what you're doing and a collective wisdom to pull from that can guide you through those sort of challenges, helping you reframe any obstacle into an opportunity for growth. It also helps with accountability. When you openly share your goals and your fears with others, you create this neutral system of encouragement and follow through. And so this sort of external support can, be particularly valuable when fear tempts you to retreat from what you're doing. And of course, a well-rounded network introduces you to new ideas, resources, broadening your horizons, and enabling you to tackle these challenges from different angles, whether it's through a mentorship, a peer relationship, an alliance, support network, a mastermind. Like, all of these lie on their ability to empower you to push beyond your own perceived limits. So you can build networks in all sorts of ways. You can reflect on what relationships you already have in your life. Look for the individuals that inspire or motivate you that you could be connected with. You could, be intentional with the interactions you're having with different people by, so you can focus on creating that more of a nurturing and reciprocal relationship. You could join groups or communities centered around, the same shared values you're looking to do, and find those like-minded individuals, whether it's mastermind groups or book clubs or online forum. Like, these sort of spaces are often fertile ground for cultivating support and connections. You can actively participate in different conversations at events. You can attend workshops or seminars or local meetups, and then after the fact, always do regular check-ins on those things. Look for the ways you can do shared projects and engage in more conversations with those individuals. Remember that these relationships thrive on mutual support, so your guidance and encouragement to others is as important as what you're receiving out of it. Share that journey as you go. Listen to what other people have to say about their journeys, and then look for the ways you support each other's growth. You can join professional development groups or personal development groups that resonate with whatever your goals are, and be prepared to contribute your insights and your skills, as genuine connections are built on the foundation of authenticity and how we have that, returned value that we're gaining off of each other and shared growth. You can always keep a track of those connections, journal what it is, and reflect on how these interactions are shaping your growth, and then look for maybe areas of opportunity, the gaps that there could be in that network. Because over time, this helps you to create a more diverse, supportive group of individuals who uplift and challenge you, to grow beyond where you're at. Now, a support network, gosh, I don't know how many ways I could say that it's so important, because it transforms fear into a shared challenge rather than an isolated experience. You surround yourself with people who believe in you and your potential. These relationships act as that safety net, catching you when you stumble and helping you to celebrate successes along the way. They also provide you models for things, your behaviors you're doing, and the ones that you want to use and cultivate in yourself, so that you can inspire, it inspires you to do more. It helps you to inspire others, and, creates that ripple effect of encouragement and empowerment. When you build a strong support network, you position yourself for even more growth at a faster rate. This is all about highlighting, like, there is an interdependence that fuels personal and collective success, demonstrating that you can truly thrive when we all thrive when we grow together. We faster when we go together than versus alone, or whatever that phrase is. Now, our fifth one is all about how you embrace lessons of failure. Embracing failure as, as a teacher that's there in your life. It's not a defeat. It's, a defeat mindset that, takes and transforms how we approach these challenges when we look at it as a lesson. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's just a stepping stone in the process. It's a part of what it is. When you view setbacks as opportunities, you learn to create that space for growth and innovation. Each and every stumble I know I've had along the way, it has revealed valuable insights about what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, and where I have areas for opportunity, and it will do the same for you. This idea, it reduces the fear of failure, allowing you to take broader steps towards whatever your goals are. It helps you to understand that failure is just a shared human experience that we're all going to have to go through multiple times throughout our lives, and fostering and creating that connection and empathy with others who are navigating their own journeys brings you closer together as a part of that. This requires you to shift your perspective. Instead of dwelling on the disappointment of a failure, you focus on the lesson it offers you. Failure often highlights patterns or gaps in your preparation or approaches that need adjustment. When you examine these and look at them very uniquely, you can refine your strategies to become way more effective at what it is that you're doing. And gosh, you just embrace failure as that way to build your resilience, because it teaches you how to recover and adapt and persevere through whatever it is that you're doing. And over time, it's going to strengthen your confidence. And as you realize that failure is just a temporary state and not a permanent verdict towards who you are and your abilities. So you begin by embracing failure. You dedicate time to reflect on those experiences you've had. Look for those moments where things didn't go as planned. We all have them. I've had plenty of things not go as planned. And then think about what contributed to the outcome, or what could you have done differently if something like that happened in the future. You could journal things out. What did I learn? How did this experience shape my approach moving forward? And then create a habit of regularly revisiting these types of reflections and track your growth and recognize maybe the patterns of how you overcome the different setbacks that there have been. Once again, visualization is always a great tool. Focus on how your each misstep contributes to a larger journey towards your goals, and pair that with affirmations. Failure is a sign that I'm trying and growing, to reinforce that mindset. Always sharing reflections with trusted friends and mentors so you gain additional insights or perspectives on how that failure has shaped your journey. So you put it in action. Once again, maybe you need a failed journey, a failed journal that you could start to produce, and use it to document those situations where things just didn't work out as planned. I would have documented the start of that last sentence because that was a failure in how I did it. Whatever it is, write down the specific lessons that you experienced, how it influenced your growth, and then take that, because it not only helps you to process the setback, but also serves as a reminder of the resilience and your ability to learn from it. You can share your challenges openly, and that sort of growth creates new opportunities for connection and to inspire others to really embrace where they've been in their setbacks with more courage. Now, of course, you reflect on your experiences afterward and focus on what you learned and how you grew from it. This matters. Embracing failure matters so much because it shifts the narrative from that avoidance to acceptance, and it creates an environment where growth and innovation can flourish. Whenever someone acknowledges their failure as a natural part of the process, it will just reduce the power that it has to hold you back. And in fact, many cases that creates fear and overwhelm down the road when attempting the same sort of thing in the future. This sort of thing encourages risk-taking and creativity, which are both essential to your personal and professional development. And when you reframe failure, you build resilience and strengthen your ability to just navigate any of life's challenges with way more confidence. It's a powerful example to others in how you demonstrate failure as that stepping stone rather than the barrier that could be there. And you look for the ways that you could share that in your own stories from failure to growth, and use that to encourage others to embrace their own setbacks and view them as opportunities as well. Now, our sixth one that I told you we'd be covering is that you inspire through your own action. And I've hinted at that through the other 5. This is rooted in the idea that our behavior speaks louder than our words. And when you take visible steps towards overcoming your own fear and embrace your vulnerability, you are demonstrating that courage is possible and that authenticity is a strength that you have, not a liability. It means that, it doesn't mean that you have to have everything figured out in any way, or that you don't have any fear. It's about showing up, despite those fears, and being transparent about the challenges and victories you had along the way. Actions like speaking up in a meeting, sharing your personal story, or standing up for something that you believe in are powerful ways to lead by example. And in these moments of courage, you inspire others to reflect on their own fears and to take their first steps towards growth as well. The beauty of inspiring through your actions is that it normalizes that vulnerability and courage as a part of the growth process. And when people see you taking risks, they understand that fear is not a barrier, but it is a part of the stepping into who it is that you're meant to be and stepping into that new. It visibly builds, more trust and connection between, those relatable nature and what others see in themselves. And more importantly, it plants the idea that, they are as well capable of facing their fears. And by being open about the experiences, you create that ripple effect, encouraging those comfort zones and fostering that culture of growth and authenticity that comes from that. So what you want to do is essentially look for the ways for that transparency that you can have that not only builds trust, but provides that blueprint, and set goals around, taking those courageous actions and moving past the fear, breaking them down to those more simplified steps that you can do so that they're not as complex in what you're trying to do. And take time after, whenever you do anything like that, to reflect on what your experiences are. Each entry of any sort of a process you do, as you journal and track your process, every entry you do can include the action you took, the emotions you experienced, and how others responded to what you were doing. And over time, you not only document your own growth, but you serve as a source of encouragement during moments of self-doubt for others. Inspiring through your actions matters because it transforms abstract ideas into courage and tangible examples that others can relate to. Words alone can motivate, but actions create that trust and credibility. And when you visibly face your fears, you validate the fears of others, and show them that courage is not just the absence of the fear, but the decision to move forward despite what's there. It aligns with your values of authenticity and transparency, demonstrating that your growth is a shared journey, not a solo achievement. When you lead through your actions, you contribute to that culture of vulnerability, and you are able to celebrate it. And fear is viewed as that stepping stone rather than a roadblock. And your willingness to act courageously becomes that beacon for others, illuminating the parts of their path, showing them how transformation and change is possible for them, just one brave step at a time. Now, the journey of taking yourself and going from being, a giver, like what is taught here in the giver method, into being an impact maker isn't about expanding your influence or anything. It's just about creating the space for those opportunities for others to discover their own potential and impact. When you overcome fear and embrace vulnerability, you are not just, having personal achievements. These are actually acts of leadership that inspire others to grow. When you implement these 6 ideas, these principles we talked about, you're not just overcoming your own fear, but and embracing that vulnerability we talked about. You're creating the pathway for others to do the same. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is one of the greatest strengths we have available to us. And when you show up authentically and face your fears, you create that space where others feel safe to do the same. Together with that, we can build a world where courage and connection can thrive. Your fears, they're that stepping stone to something bigger that is often directly connected to where your gifts are most needed. So each time you push through your own comfort zone, you make it easier for others to follow. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper into this and discovering and developing gifts and superpowers, and how you can have deeper, more meaningful connections and make a greater impact, live a more fulfilled life, then go right now is the time where you click on the link down in the description, get your copy of the Giver Method off of Amazon. Now is the time to do that, or go to thegivermethod.com and join our newsletter list, or get on the Impact Makers community. All the ways, see all the ways that we can help serve you as well. We want to make sure that you're able to unlock your superpowers and create more meaningful impact. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who may need it, leave a comment telling maybe what principle you're resonated the most with you. And so with that, I'll just say that until next time, please keep growing, keep giving, and remember that your vulnerability today becomes someone else's courage tomorrow. So let's be vulnerable. Let's share what we have within us. Let's share those failures, those struggles, those times we've been stressed, had anxiety, and use it as a springboard for people to move into their own personal development. I promise you, when you develop your gift superpowers, you give value to others without expecting anything in return. The universe always pays you back. And that's one of the first steps towards becoming a giver, which then leads you to want to then make that greater impact in that greater sphere and become an impact maker. So with that, hopefully you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in our next video. Have a good one.